It was an unseasonably warm April morning in 2018 when Margaret took a misstep that changed everything. One moment, she was walking her dog down the familiar path behind her house. The next, she was on the ground, clutching her arm in pain. "Not now," she muttered through gritted teeth. Margaret was no stranger to life's challenges, but this felt different, like the world was telling her to stop, though she had no intention of listening. At the hospital, the doctor delivered the verdict: a severe fracture. "You'll need to take it easy for a while," he said, scribbling notes on a clipboard. Margaret raised an eyebrow. "Define a while." The doctor sighed. "Weeks, maybe months. No heavy lifting, no strenuous activities. Rest is non-negotiable." Rest wasn't something Margaret was good at. She'd spent decades on her feet, juggling demanding schedules, scripts, and the expectations of an adoring audience. To step away now, even for a little while, felt like surrender. When news of her injury reached her colleagues, the reaction was immediate. "Take all the time you need," her producer assured her over the phone. "We'll manage." Margaret winced, not from the pain, but from the thought of leaving her role, even temporarily. "I don't want to let anyone down," she said. "You won't," the producer replied. "You've given us everything for years. It's okay to focus on yourself for a bit." The break was anything but restful. Margaret spent her days in physical therapy, her nights icing her injury, and her mind wrestling with the fear that her time in the spotlight might be over. One evening, her close friend Jane stopped by with dinner and a much-needed pep talk. "You've been through worse," Jane said, setting a casserole on the counter. "Not like this," Margaret replied, staring at her immobilized arm. "What if I can't come back? What if this is it?" Jane smirked. "You're Margaret. You don't give up. You've been stealing scenes and winning hearts since before half the people on that show were even born." Margaret laughed, despite herself. "Flattery will get you everywhere." Months passed, and Margaret worked tirelessly to regain her strength. Every stretch, every grimace, every ounce of effort was fueled by a single goal: returning to the life she loved. The cameras, the crew, the scripts, all of it was more than a job to her. It was home. Finally, the day came. Margaret walked onto the set, her castmates erupting into applause. "Look who's back," one of them teased, pulling her into a careful hug. "It's good to see you," said another. Margaret's eyes glistened as she looked around the familiar set. "It's good to be seen," she replied. Her first scene was a simple one, a brief exchange of dialogue in a quiet room. But as the director called action, Margaret slipped effortlessly into her role. The lines flowed like water, the emotions as authentic as ever. When the scene wrapped, the crew erupted into cheers. "She still got it," someone said, and Margaret couldn't help but smile. Because you see, Margaret wasn't her real name. It was just a placeholder for a woman whose grace and determination inspired millions. A woman who proved that even after life knocks you down, you can always get back up. Today, the world knows her as Leslie Charles, the beloved star of General Hospital, whose return was as triumphant as her legacy. And now you know the rest of the story.